At my age, you can go pretty far back. The first time I ever did any public speaking was in the 3rd grade. It was in church, and I was the narrator of the Nativity Story, the Christmas pageant. God was preparing me for ministry, I guess, even then. I'm still narrating stories, but now I'm narrating them in a metaphysical way. Every person, place, or thing in any story is really about our own story, aspects of ourselves. And that's why we feel the Christmas story so strongly, because we know what's happening inside of each of us. I know it sounds like a multiple personality disorder when we go into every person, place, or thing, but believe me, the Christmas story is our story as well. And if you look at all these great stories of all cultures all over the world, we don't argue whether they're fact or fiction, whether they're literally true or symbolically. They're all for us to awaken. And that stories help us to awaken an awareness of what we are inside. And believe me, I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Not doing that at all. But Jesus came to show us the way to our own awakened consciousness. So yes, we honor the birth of a great master coming into this earth plane to show us the way to our own indwelling Christ. But let's look at some of the metaphysical symbols so you know what I mean. And let's start with angels, because I love angels. Angels are messengers from the divine, and we see them and receive them in whatever way we can accept them. In Unity, we like to call angels divine ideas that come to us. Now me, I kind of believe in the fluffy white, so I like the fluffy white image. They can come to us through other people, disguised as other people. They can come through us through children, through animal spirits, through the TV, the radio, movies, music. If you ever heard a song and it was just what you needed to hear that day, angels, divine ideas, that love and comfort can come to us in whatever way we will accept them. And metaphysically, what are they in us? Well, those inner promptings, those feelings that say, ooh, or ooh, oh, I need to go here, need to go there. Or wait a minute, I suddenly know. I just know, and I don't know how I know, but I just know that still small voice. It's not really a voice of an inner knowing. Or it can even come as divine discontent. Has anybody ever went through divine discontent where you knew something had to change and you didn't quite know what it was going to be, but eventually it comes? So ask yourself today, how have angels come to you? How often have they come to you? What was the message? Did you listen? And did you act on that message? Now the next thing in this story are shepherds, and shepherds are really important. They watch over their flock at night. And so we too have to shepherd our thoughts, because everything is happening in us. If I don't shepherd my thoughts, believe me, they can wander off and take some side trips that I don't want to go on. Have you ever had your thoughts wander off into fear and separation and create all kinds of stories? Sheep are those peaceful thoughts, those thoughts of truth. And the wolves that the shepherd has to protect the thief from are thoughts of fear and separation that eat up the peace of mind. That's why Jesus said, I am the good shepherd, meaning I shepherd my thoughts. I shepherd my consciousness. So if you're comfortable, repeat with me, I am a good shepherd of my thoughts. Together, I am a good shepherd of my thoughts. And then we can rest as peaceful sheep upon this planet and not be afraid of those wolves. Now the next element of the story are the 3 kings or 3 wise men. And I know you've all heard this before, but I love the story of the 4th wise man who was turned away because he brought fruitcake. Kings in us are ruling states of mind. What is the state of mind that rules you? You know, we have our human mind, which gets into reasoning through the 5 senses. This looks like this in the world, therefore I'm going to feel this or do this. But the other state of mind is our higher self that rules from that place of our divine nature, from a place of truth and light. And whichever king you allow to rule determines your state of mind, determines your life, your awakening, where you're going, what king rules you. And then we have stars that guide them. Now the star, of course, within is that inner light that guides us. And we have to be real discerning that we're following our star and not somebody else's star, or not what the world thinks we should be following. You know, there's a great story of a little boy waiting for his mother outside the grocery store. And as he waited, he was approached by a man who asked, "Son, can you tell me where the post office is?" And the little boy says, "Well, sure, just go down the street, past the library, and make a right. You can't miss it." So the man thanked the boy kindly and said, "You know, I'm the new minister in town, and I'd like for you and your mother to come to church on Sunday. I'll show you how to get to heaven." And the little boy replied, "Oh, come on, you don't even know the way to the post office." So my point is, you have to follow the star that is prompting you what you should do, not what the world says. And it takes courage and trust to follow your own star, does it not? When the world tells you you're crazy. I mean, I've had a lifetime. I took off after high school and drove to California. People talked. I moved a lot of places over the years, and every time I moved, people talked. There she goes again. I began to study New Thought, and people talked. I left my church that I grew up in, and people talked. I went to ministerial school, and people talked. I got a divorce, and people talked, and then I did it all over again, and people talked. I married Michael, and people talked. You see what my point is? I followed my own star, no matter what the world said. I had to follow my path of my destiny, not anybody else's. Follow your own star, your own path to awakening. And we have Mary and Joseph in this story, that mystical marriage of head and heart, the intellect and the intuition working together. That's why they call it the mystical marriage. And Mary is the divine feminine in all of us, the part of us that knows, that receptive and nurturing nature of the soul that knows. And Mary's gotten a bad rap. I know when I grew up with Mary, you couldn't just say Mary, you had to say the Virgin Mary, you know? And I love the story of the 10-year-old, under the tutelage of her grandmother, was becoming quite knowledgeable about the Bible, and she was proud of it. But one day she floored her grandmother by asking which virgin was the mother of Jesus, the Virgin Mary or the King James Virgin? Mary is that part of us that knows. We just know. You can call it intuition, you can call it an inner knowing, whatever you want to call it. It's that part of you that knows and receives from the Spirit and gives birth to it in the world. Mary is our creativity. We nurture divine ideas and manifest them on earth as it is in heaven. That's why when we say the word Mary, or when we sing the Ave Maria, we feel it so deeply, because it's that part of us that knows, that really knows. And of course there's Joseph too. He's an important balance. He balances with that masculine intellect that supports the intuition. The heart leads and the head figures out the details, but they work together equally in balance. And in the story, Mary is riding a donkey, and we don't like to think a donkey is a part of us. But Charles Fillmore, in the Revealing Word, said the donkey is that part of us, I know I can relate to this, that is stubborn but capable of direction. Anybody here stubborn but sometimes capable of direction, not all the time? The donkey. The human ego tries to pull us in different directions because the five senses are saying, go here, go there. But the human ego needs to be harnessed and drawn inward to hear the promptings to follow that star within. And that road takes us to Bethlehem, called the house of substance, because it's starting to manifest and give birth on the earth plane. It's a union of love and wisdom. Again, the head and the heart, that union of love and wisdom. And it manifests as peace, the peace of heaven on earth, through the awareness of our divine nature. And the in is a real important part. The in is the place in our minds that doesn't always have room for the Christ. Anybody here so busy your mind is always going like this and your to-do list is going like that? And you think of praying or you think of Christ coming in. Who's got time for that? I got all this going on up here. Is there room in your in? We have to declutter our minds by simply becoming still. I love the way Brandon calls it. What do you call it, Brandon? Those sacred pauses?
Holy pause.
Holy pause. Take a holy pause every now and then. It doesn't have to be a long time. You don't have to sit and go home for a half hour. Just pause. Allow that sacred presence to come forth. In the manger, I grew up on a farm, and mangers, the barns were always so quiet. And there was something sacred about them, a place of nourishment. Animals were fed and taken care of. And it's that quiet place in us for Christ to be born. By the way, this is just a sideline. It has nothing to do with my message. But speaking of nourishment, at Christmas dinner, be sure to ask if the mashed potatoes are made with skim milk or whole milk. If it's skim milk, just pass. Why bother? It's like buying a sports car with an automatic transmission. Okay, just a sideline, we human beings have to be nourished and fed. Like in the manger, that's why we get together and eat. But spiritually, we're fed through prayer and meditation, the music, the spiritual practices that still our minds. Be still and know that I am God. And Jesus came to show us the way to the indwelling Christ. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, the Bible verse he quoted more than any other was Colossians 1:27. Christ in you, the hope of glory. Christ in you, the hope of glory. And Reverend Eric Butterworth, who's no longer with us, but if you want to read a good book, anything written by Eric or Butterworth is worth reading. He said if you're not aware of the greater dimension of your nature, then it doesn't exist as far as you're concerned. But when you come to yourself, like the prodigal son, when you come to yourself, when you wake up, suddenly you come alive to the within of you, the depth of you. Then God is very real to you, not as a person separate from you, but as an added dimension of you, as a living presence ever with you. And that's really what Christmas is all about. Christ in you, your hope of glory. Let's take that into prayer. Simply by shutting our eyes and quieting our minds, we make room in the inn of our consciousness. There's a place, the spaces in between the words, the spaces in between the doing, the effort, the struggling. There's a quiet place. There's a manger where your spirit resides, and where that part of you that knows the truth that sets you free from the dramas of the world. The truth that lifts you up to a higher realm of light and love and joy. And you are so blessed in that sacred space, so nourished, giving birth to the divinity that you are. And we are so grateful this morning collectively to come together in this sacred space to experience that together. We do pray in gratitude and joy in the nature of the Christ, and so it is. Amen.